Hello YouTube and hello Ninth Age community. This is Charles from Evershed Gaming, and I have another Ninth Age battle report. Got a friendly game in against good old Moox, our resident Infernal Dwarf player in the Detroit area. We played the Encircle deployment with the objective of Hold the Ground, which normally I don't like, but I think this army that I took has a lot more staying power in the middle. So I actually am trying an ETC list that I found that I thought was interesting. It's got a prelate on an altar in it, which normally I don't think is very good. Not that I guess I don't think it's good. I just think it's expensive and it's vulnerable to fire at range, and it's easy to just put him in on an altar to have multiple ones on foot. But I wanted to try it out. I wanted to give it a try. So I kind of took that ETC list and I just tweaked it a little bit. And the tweaks that I made, they were just minor. I don't like the idea of buying the shield for the Imperial Seal Marshal because he's already got a 1-up. I mean, I like the Witchfire Guard, but not enough to pay points for it and buy a shield. And then I just moved the core points around a little bit. I put a thing of militia instead of another scoring unit, which I could see the benefit of another scoring. I'm debating taking that on or not. So, my friend's Moox's Infernal Dwarf army. So he's got his Prophet, Rocking Alchemy, Flintlock Axe, Wizard Master, and then he's got the Magical Heirloom for that oh-so-delicious... actually, he was rocking Pyromancy in her game. He must be debating between the both of those. He ran Pyromancy in our game. And then he also has the Tablet of Ashuk, which is really great. He takes one of my channels during my turn and it gives it to him basically in his turn. And then he has a BSB with Flintlock Axe, Icon of the Inferno. That gives him an extra blaze every time he casts a spell from either Alchemy or Pyromancy. And then he's got a Lucky Charm. He's got 3 things of 10 Flintlock Axes. He's got 2 two things of Fort Turok with shields and infernal weapons or whatever. So they're strength 6, and then they both have the banner of Shamut, which gives them +1 to their combat rise on top of being a banner, and I believe +1 offensive skill. And then you got 2 armor giants, and then his crutch. He's got his infernal engine, and can't forget about those slaves and core as well. He's trying out a new list. It's interesting. I like the giants. I like the trucks. So we'll see how they do in this game. My deployment, I believe I went first and I just dropped everything. So, yeah, he got to choose table sides and he chose the defender, and then I got the attacker. So I'm only up 9 inches, which is okay. So I've got my light infantry next to that building, which is great because honestly the building's a great buffer. It's going to take forever for something to get around my flank. And then I've got my heavy infantry in the middle with my Wizard Master in the corner right there. Behind them are the militia. Then my Wizard Master is, my Prelate on his altar battle is next to that. 40 Imperial Guard with BSB in general in there. And then cannon next to them and the heavy infantry, and then the steam tank on my flank. And then for his deployment, he's got a unit of wolves, which I'm pretty sure, I know he had that in his list. I don't remember just saying it, but he had a unit of wolves. I think he might have actually tweaked his list after he sent me a copy of it. So he's got a unit of wolves, and then his engine and his 2 giants are trying to, trying to not get shot by the cannon for 1 turn. And then his unit, one of his units of Flintlock bros, and he's got his Vizier and his Prophet in that unit right there. And then one of the 4 units of truck, kind of pretty much towards the center of the board. And next to them are some Orc slaves, partially in a forest, a unit of 10 Flintlock dudes in a forest, another unit of 4 truck, and another unit of Flintlock guys. Yeah. So, yeah, the way, the deployment ended up working out was quite interesting. There's, nothing on either of our, my right, his left flank, and then I really only have the Stank opposing 2 giants and the engine, so we'll see what the Stank can do against that. He vanguards his wolves up just a little bit. It's another good shot to see, There's a lot of things that can go down in that, and then I feel like I have a pretty strong center. Emperor Sonnstahl turn 1. Again, I dropped everything basically to go for turn 1. Once I kind of I don't know. I guess I kind of realized that I was going to be able to basically put the crossbows up at 9 inches and probably be able to shoot something turn 1. And he deployed up, so that helped me. So the crossbows are in range to shoot something, and then yeah, I don't really move up that much. I just move up so the wizard's in range. The cannon doesn't move. The cannon can shoot the engine this turn because it can see it. Actually, both cannons can shoot the engine, so that's good. So I just move up a little bit. I get a flex card number 7, and I save 3 channels. That's what that red token is. It's a 3-channel token counter. Got that from Buckeye Battles. Love it. And that gives me 8 dice. I get altered sight off on my light infantry, which is always delicious. I'm actually one of my targets is one of the flintlock units this turn. And then I also get a Quicksilver Lash off on these guys. They have a 5-up against it, but yeah, still wound on a 3-up. I actually get 2 wounds through, so that was pretty good. I think I got 4 hits, so 2 wounds through, not bad. And then over here, these guys shoot, and they kill 7 flintlock guys. Great round of shooting right here. Really good start. That really is going to help me and hurt him. And then I shoot my cannon at the engine, and just my normal cannon, and it hits, and it wounds, and it does 3 wounds, which was great. And I believe I shot my steam tank at this cannon as well, and I want to say I just missed. I don't think I even got a chance to wound, which would have been harder with the steam tank too, because it's only strength 7. Infernal Dwarves turn 1. So he chaffs the steam tank with his dogs, which is good because he moved up pretty close with one of his armored giants, and I would not hesitate putting the steam tank into an armored giant. And then other than that, I'd say he moves up hesitantly, which I think he's a little right to do since I've got a lot of synergies in my blocks. So that makes sense, but he's definitely got a lot of charges he could possibly make onto my Imperial Guard. He puts his hereditary spell off on my heavy infantry. This was a tough call. I wanted to stop this one, but then I also had 5 dice left to 4 dice, and I wanted to stop the thing that hits the whole unit. However, it did not stop either. So he ended up getting a fireball off on 1 dice, and then he also got enveloping embers off on the whole unit. I couldn't stop that, so I lost let's see, 20 out of 48, 49. I lost 29 guys that turn to pyromancy. Oof, that was rough. And I lose a couple Imperial Guard to the flintlocks, and then we go right into Emperor Sonnstahl turn 2. So I'm okay random moving my steam tank into these guys. It's kind of just useful to get rid of these chaff. And then I don't move up that much. I just reform the heavy infantry to be a block. I put my wizard back in the light infantry, try and keep him away from that pyromancy magic, and then move my pull back just a little bit. I feel like I should have been a little more aggressive with my Imperial Guard, but I was a little worried about getting triple charged by Turuk Giant. So, on turn 2, I get the Flux card 5, which is honestly one of the best Flux cards, and I'm able to, I get like 14 tokens between the 9, the 3 I generate, and the 2 I had left over, the 3 I had left over, and I lose 1 always or something like that. So I ended up getting 4 more dice, so I have 9 dice. So I throw an Ice and Fire at these guys, and I do 5 wounds, and I cause a panic, which is just so good. Actually, this game made me feel a lot better about Ice and Fire. I remember I used to be like, that spell used to be so good, but it's not terrible, I guess. I get an altered sight off on these guys, which is, again, so good. I love hitting on 3-ups or 4-ups, even at Forest. And then right in the shooting phase, I shoot at the truck, and I cost 3 wounds, but I don't get but he doesn't panic or anything. So I think they actually had double panic tests too, because they just got moved through by the flintlock guys. So they passed 2 panic tests, which is pretty good, which I think they're leadership discipline 9. I actually ended up using my breath weapon and the impact hits to kill these guys. I really wanted to get rid of them, and it doesn't really matter I guess. Or I guess, I mean, it was good to get rid of the chaff. And then on his turn 2, he charges both his armor giants into my steam tank. So this will be an interesting fight. And then he random moves his tank up. Again, I don't know if I would say his tank had bad positioning, but yeah. And then that was actually a shot in the magic phase too. Let me go back to that picture. With Pyromancy this turn, he was able to kill my cannon too. So at this point, you know, all my long range threats are either tied down or dead. So and in combat, he rolls really poorly, which is really great for me. I think I do 1 wound on the giants, on the giant on the right there, and it ends up being a push combat, which is a little bit silly. Next turn he should have better odds because he gets battle focus, so we'll see how that goes for him. I missed a pick of my movement, but it'll be very clear where I moved. I actually had a really important movement phase. I don't know why I missed this picture, probably too excited. I got Flex Card 4, which left me with 7 dice, or no, 8 dice, and 2 leftover tokens. I charged my Imperial Guard into the engine. At this point, I felt like I didn't really have many things to deal with this guy, and he's just, it's such a oppressive piece on the board sometimes with that Resilience 7. So I figured this turn might be the best turn for me to really be able to take care of it. So I get Perception and Strength off, and I have my cart right there at the right of that picture. I charged my Prelate and my like 19 heavy infantry into the orcs so that I could try and deal with them this turn, because he moved up with them to try and like kind of chaff block with them. So I decided I just wanted to just get rid of the orcs, so the Prelate and the heavy infantry are going to try and do that. I still have 6 inches on my Imperial Guard as well, so I think my opponent was really worried about the reroll to wound spell, so he let the Perception and Strength go off, which in this case I was more looking for just the 8p, because the Infernal Engine does have a 3-up armor save. And then in the magic phase, I'm also able to get up Altered Sight, which is great because he moved his truck up. He's going to move his truck up, I think. And I basically, these guys are the only thing that can stop them. Hopefully maybe kill one, cause a panic at this point. The combat phase goes really well with the orcs. I just kind of, you know, I had Brace for Impact up on the heavy infantry from probably either my BSB or my Marshal, or my General. And so they had a lot of attacks. The Prelate did well. He had impact hits and a lot of attacks from a Hero's Heart. So I think there was only like 8 orcs left, and so we killed them and we ran them down. And I was able to get my Prelate, was able to overrun far enough to get in these Turok 2, which is so good because I had a contingency plan in place, but it was great to get in there. And then the nice thing was, going into this combat, I do 3 wounds. I did 4 wounds, but he made 1 6-up armor save, which was okay. It would have been awesome to get rid of it this turn, but it's not the end of the world if I get rid of it on his turn. And then in this combat over here, he does 2 wounds to me. Also, again, just not rolling well with these giants. They're strength 6, they're hitting on 4s, they're wounding on 4s, but they're just not rolling all that well, unfortunately. I do 1 more wound to the giant there, and then he's going to end up turning his giant to face my heavy infantry. I thought about charging the heavy infantry in, but I figured that's a lot of combat res he can get. So, Infernal Dwarves, turn 3. Yes, so these guys were in the middle of the board last turn. They were actually able to cap the objective for him for the turn 2. And I shot at them for 2 turns in a row, and actually, the shooting went really, I rolled well. I think I did 5 wounds, like, kind of, like, with my stand and shoot and with that. And he made quite a bit of armor saves. I did enough to kill 1 more guy, but he passed his panic test. So he's into the crossbows, and now we're kind of finally looking at the board. And yes, so this is what's going on. His flintlock guys rallied on his previous, or they probably rallied on, I think they rallied on turn 2, his turn 2. He moved the reduced unit of 3 flintlocks kind of into that rune, and then he decided he wanted them to come back towards the middle. And then he's moved his Prophet and Vizier out. You can just see them above the truck. They're kind of trying to get out of the way of the Imperial Guard at this point. In the magic phase, I think he gets the 4 to 3 phase, and he's able to one or two dice this spell, and I either couldn't stop it or I wanted to try and stop stuff later, and it ends up not being too bad. He has a pretty weak magic phase. Either he can't get stuff off, or he just doesn't roll very well in number hits. So he kills like a little bit of that heavy infantry unit. These guys lose combat, but they stick around on a 7, which is awesome. And then over here with the giants, this was, again, he does no wounds to me. I do 2 more wounds to the giant on the right there. And then they lose combat by 2, and he runs away with both of them. And it's really great because it's my turn next, so I can basically do whatever I want to get those points. Yeah, those guys just did not roll well for him. That's really all it is. Like, they just rolled really poopy. Even with like battle focus and all those other things they can get, they just rolled poorly. And then over here, able to kill the engine, which is awesome. Just had to sneak that 1 more wound through. I didn't have hatred, but even with like the battle focus and all the other things, still a lot of things going in their favor. And then this combat goes really well too. I mean, he doesn't have a champion or anything in this unit, because it's kind of all about the Banner Schmut guy. So he wants that guy to always be alive at the end. But impact hits do a couple wounds. I do a couple more wounds with the Hero's Heart. They were actually reduced earlier from that Quicksilver Lash, so they stick around, but they're not going to stick around for long, because on my turn 4, I'm able to charge these Flintlock guys, and I'm basically going to be able to overrun if things go well. And then this was awesome too. I was able to get my heavy infantry to charge his Vizier and his Prophet. I think I put on the double on them just to make sure I got in, and it was like an 11-inch charge, and I just rolled enough. And then this was pretty funny. This Steam Tank tried to get into one of the armored giant that doesn't have any wounds on it, and he failed by an inch. So I think he was only like 9 inches away too, and I did the 5d3, and I couldn't get like an average roll, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. I mean, he's fleeing, so even if he rallies, I'll just hit him with impact hits next turn. And then this is what the board's looking like. I moved the heavy infantry block, the 20-man block, just towards the middle of the board, because at this point I have claimed the objective for 1 round as well, and so has he. So we really I need to start fighting over that. I get the Flux card 1, and I'm able to get 6 dice between the ones I generate and the ones they give me, and I have 1 left over. I kill the giant here with an ice and fire. I got like 7 hits and I did 5 wounds, which is really good. So killed that guy, which was great, because now there's just 1 more giant to deal with, and he's fleeing. Wipe out the Imperial Guard, or the Flintlock guys, and then go into combat again. We can't quite kill all of the... I think that guy has 3 wounds on him. We don't really do that many wounds, but we still break these guys in combat. My opponent was really hopeful that I would overrun again into his characters, because these guys fought 2 combats already, and he was like, that would be ridiculous if you just overran again, and it's like, here's another combat I get to fight. They don't. That would have been sweet. I don't know if it really mattered, but that would have been incredibly ridiculously awesome. They just overrun. The Prelate actually overran farther. And then in this combat, I believe I activate my Rending Banner finally. And I wonder if I use it against the slaves. Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. But I don't even know if I did activate the Rending Banner or not. I might not even use it this game. I do 2 wounds to his Prophet, which was awesome. I got to swing first. He swung, and he swung poorly. And this is actually where we just end up calling the game. And this is actually a previous picture. This is at the start of my turn 4. I just kind of wanted to talk about kind of my thoughts if we got playing. I totally understand why we would pick up at that point. He's got a fleeing giant. He's got 2 Truck, which honestly, there's like a 50-50 chance that those crossbows hold for another turn. And then there's another. I mean, he's got to kill quite a bit to get them below really 5, because he doesn't have a rank, so who knows how long they'll hold. Even if they break this turn, they really gotta head towards the middle, and then still got a lot of stuff in the middle that can just kind of turn and fight those guys. So, yeah. And I think he's pretty far from my wizard's unit. If he once he reforms, I want to say it's like an 18-inch charge. So unlikely for him to get my wizard bunker. And I think at the best he could tie me on the objective, but then he might lose his whole army. So I don't know if you're playing in a tournament at that point. Do you just move your units away, try and save a few points, or do you fight for the objective because that's also a few points? But since he ended up calling it, I'm just calling it a 20-0 victory in this battle report. But I think it would have been interesting to continue playing. But I've been there before. He had really poor dice, I would say, most of this game, to be honest. Especially with the Giants. Oh man, they should have done like way more. I don't know if they killed the steam tank by that round, but I think the steam tank should have had like maybe one wound on it. Yeah, I don't know. He just rolled so poorly with those guys. But a fun game. I like the prelate list. I actually got to play it again on Wednesday this week, so I'm going to be working on that battle report. I made a couple tweaks to the list. I think it's really solid. I really like it. The only thing I really wanted was another order. And I am actually over core points, but I'm actually capped at character points on the list too, so I might see if I can move some character points around. I don't know if I need the Obsidian Rock. It's nice. But I might move some points around, see if I can fit Great Tactician on that Marshal on foot, because I think that opens up a lot of great things for that army. More orders, especially in an army with like 2 big blocks and some light infantry and another small unit of like heavy infantry that can move around. I think it's necessary to have more orders. I want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this battle report, and we'll be seeing you soon.